Hello everyone, I'm Tiger Cole. I'm here with Tom Schatz, TNT Spirit Works. I'm the guest, and today we're going to be talking about inner leadership. Last video we were getting into minding our business and how important that is spiritually and how that connects. Too often we hear that term, mind my own business, mind your own business, and we don't quite make that connection between how that works with us spiritually, So today we're going to carry on with that a little bit, and then also move into inner leadership and how that relates to your spiritual life.
Inner leadership. So what is that all about? In society, we get a lot of training to be a leader of others. But when it comes to leading ourselves, I know that one of the, as we call it, religious concepts is leave yourself out, do it all for others, do more than your 50%.
Selfless.
Selfless. And, yet I know that any successful person I've ever met has never really been like that. They are quite clear about what they want to accomplish, why they're in it. They maintain that inner discipline to be positive and to stay on course. So it's more like being self-full rather than selfless.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Too often the word selfish has gotten a negative name, and because it's associated with greed, right? The selfish, so he's greedy, me first, me second, me third. But if you're not running on self, what are you running on, right? Nobody breathes through your nose. So, you got to have self. So I think that's a great way to say it, self-full. And I think the other one I want to pick up on what you're saying, Tom, is that the more I regroup with successful people, both in the material and the spiritual world, is they are very clear with their needs and wants. And the more they fulfill on those needs, they naturally get to that space of what many different faiths talk about, which is associated with the selfless thing, right? Meaning that I've gone through life, I'm experiencing it, so it's almost like I get to wash away the stuff that doesn't belong, that I had that training. You brought that up in the last video, how I got programmed, my first 7 years, and there's things that I come in with tendencies and so forth. But it's almost like through my experience, it washes stuff away that actually is not what I've come to do, right? It's not my business, right? You were bringing that up. And I think that's the distinction for me. It's not that the concept of being selfless is necessarily bad. It can become bad if I'm not working with it in a positive way. But I need to go through my life. I need to know what I need and want in order for me to be successful and reach that next plateau where I am cleaning myself, where I am closer to that one with all feeling. So it's not about being just an overly sensitive guy. Here we are, two guys and they're spiritual guys. But I can be a football player, I can be a soldier, I could be an FBI agent, and still have that balance of two worlds, right? So, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to get what I need going through making things clear of what's me and not me, and having that inner leadership, that self-full vibration, which is distinctive from the greedy me first and me second. But if I don't have self, I'm going to walk into a whole lot of trouble.
Well, what strikes me is, that we come in alone in a sense, and
go.
that I come in with my mission and what I've come to do here spiritually.
Right.
And I'm going to go out alone spiritually, and really, I can't bring anybody else's journey along with me. Whether I accomplish my mission spiritually is completely up to me. I can use other people as an excuse, but when I check out, I either did it or I didn't do it.
That's right.
And as I've said in earlier, videos, that to me spiritual growth is just gaining new awareness, that life actually becomes smoother and easier. And one of the things I wanted to share about was that, you know, a lot of spiritual people, or people who are interested in spiritual things like us, really have a lot of love for people. You know, they have a lot of concern and a lot of love, and really it's, they don't know when, and at times this happens, you know, to myself, I'm sharing because I have the experience of, you know, just how far to give and when to, you know, end. You know, where do I begin and end? Particularly, as I mentioned in one video, you know, when it comes to loved ones, it's hard, you know, with our programming. So a real key for me is really developing that relationship with my spiritual guidance or spirit guides.
That's right.
Who have actually mastered lessons I've already come here to learn from a spiritual perspective, so that I can really check, you know, I want to be of service here, but is this going over my 50%? And I've really, you know, I've learned, like I know you do, to check in real time. I mean, I can be in any situation. I've developed that communication, that I can check if something's in my best interest or in the best interest of that person, so that it helps me recognize, you know, when it is my opportunity to step in and help, and when it isn't.
Very important.
And that's, if I try to think it through, if I try to just use my intellect and not tune into my sensitivity or my guidance, then it's a haphazard result.
Yeah.
And if anything, I usually do the wrong thing. I either don't, if I'm just working with my intellect in my training, you know, what they tell me I'm supposed to do, then I'll either do too much or I do not enough, and then I feel like crap, you know, afterwards, because I didn't, you know, achieve what I was trying to do.
That's right. And so you're hitting kind of the nail on the head with all this, because we open with a bit of inner leadership, right? And if I don't know where I begin and end with things, I'm going to be a usable instrument, right? I'm going to be wishy-washy, right? And nobody is going to ultimately get their needs met that way. If I have someone that I'm working with, I have a relationship, I have a business partner, I'm not going to get truly satisfied and satiated with all that if I'm wishy-washy. Mm-hmm. And so that it's a need to have that inner leadership. It's critical to fulfill what I've come to do this life, what you've come to do this life, and hit those marks, and that's key timings in life to do that. And if I'm over-concerned about what people think, or over-concerned about what could happen to me, or I get sick, or if I get it's nothing wrong with concern, but if I get over-concerned, then I'm putting this big monster out there that I'm creating it, right? I mean, the thing is just the thing, right? The thing is just the thing, right? It's either going to kill me or it's not. But I'm the one who puts fangs on it and puts this big thing, you know, I create this perfect scenario for me until I learn. So the challenge with that is, if I don't have that inner leadership, like I am the rudder for my ship, right? If I don't have that clear, then I just become at the mercy of the strongest current around me, right? And that's probably, for me, the best way to describe it is, imagine you're in your life, you're sailing the sea of life, but then you let go of the rudder, right? So in essence, you got the wind blowing you, you've got the currents moving you, and you hope and pray that you don't get run up on shore or ground, you know, on something, mm-hmm. right? And so this is why we start clinging to other people or other fears, other worries, because we're trying to find some kind of guide. Right? And my guidance are my number one best friend, because they will never interfere with my free will. Right? So it's almost like a little bit scary, right? Because I want them to tell me what to do. Tell me what to do, guidance. Right? But that's how I know the difference between my spiritual helpers, my team, and something else or someone else, is that my guidance will never interfere in my free will, and they want and need me to make my decisions. That's that inner leadership part.
One of the ways I think of my guidance, you know, on that note, is that there's people I've worked with in the past who are really good about knowing when to step in and when not to step in with other people and their troubles. And my guidance for me, those spirit guides are like those people that I naturally want to hang around, because they just seem to be really good at that, knowing when to let, you know, someone make their own mistakes. And also inner leadership for me is that I've really been regrouping a lot about how, you know, if I stop and ask myself what's really going on in the world, or what's going on in my world particularly, I pick up all the impressions I need. And then I can recheck with my guidance, you know, and they add refinements or can hone me in a little bit. And they, you know, pass a little wisdom on. And there may be things that I'm hearing in my environment or through friends that just kind of, you know, like I mentioned in another video, I saw friends, colleagues of ours tweet, and it, you know, was all part of things that were the wisdom that was making its way to me just through little things that people said. And I find this happens when I'm involved in life, you know, when I'm showing up to try things, whether I do it perfect or not. But that sensitivity, you know, another trait of inner leadership for me is just learning to really trust what I'm sensing, despite what my friends are telling me, despite what my partner says, despite what the media is telling me, you know, on and on it goes through those circles of involvement with people. And the more that I just relax and trust that, and the more I tune into my guidance, I'm prepared for whatever eventuality arises. And that's, boy, what that feeling I have when that happens is real, you know, fulfillment. Like I've, you know, reached that challenge. And, you know, for me, my thrust is to be happy and free. So I just support the idea of freedom, and the freedom of an individual, and the freedom of myself, so that I can rise to the highest heights that I want to rise to.
And that's exactly where I was going to go. And let's make it nice and practical and real, right? So that inner leadership is really loving people enough. You talked about being a real man or being a sensitive, a real woman. We love people.
Yes.
I mean, I do. I love people. I mean, that they are my greatest resource while I'm here. And I don't mean that in a greedy way. I'm saying it's a beautiful thing. But if I don't have enough love, I'll start to covet. I'll start to grasp and grope and get possessive or be indifferent, you know, play a game with people. And to me, real love and respect is starting to recognize that they are a soul with a physical body just like me, right? And as you were saying, sometimes this can be challenging when there's people that I really love and, you know, that they're like really close friends and family, right? Or the other part of that can be the exact same feeling is if you got somebody you consider an enemy. Same energy. Same energy. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Same energy. When you have those kinds of things, it gets to an extreme, right? If I can't see people, whether I love them or hate them, as souls, going through their life, evolving and growing just like me, then I really don't have much love for them. I don't have much love at all. I'm just, you know, it's like I'm trying to pick and choose winners and losers. I'm playing that manipulation game with people and ultimately myself, right? Because then I play the game that what I do sometimes is all right and what I do sometimes is all wrong, right? I get into that game. And that's the practical side of what, Tom, you're bringing up, is if I don't have that inner leadership to say, I'm on my journey and everybody's on their journey and I can love them, respect them, doesn't mean that I have to go hang out with them if they've got a different contrary view or something, right, all the time and get in the dirt with them or something. It's just that they're just like me. They're just like me. You know? Otherwise, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to lose sight of what I've come to do. So if I can, this is what I was going to say earlier. We have a person a colleague of ours who says, you know, there's a value to a train wreck when people have train wrecks. you know? And you kind of see it. You know, I'm sure you know people in your life that they set themselves up to do certain things, and all of a sudden it's like they crash, right? And then they get themselves back together, and then they do, and then they set themselves up again, and then they crash, you know? And it's kind of painful to watch, you know? I do it myself sometimes. But the moral of the story is there is an invaluable thing going on there. There is something beautiful and wonderful going on behind the curtain and behind the scenes. And I need to have my own inner leadership strong enough and enough love to let that be clear, right? It doesn't mean that I don't put a hand out. It doesn't mean that I don't say, hey, listen, you may want to try this. But if I try to constantly keep people from their train wrecks, then I'm really not being helpful at all. So I'm not saying that just let people just hurt themselves all the time. I'm gonna get these tweets that Tiger's saying that crap. I'm just trying to say that I can be of service, I can help, I can have that love without creating a situation where I'm trying to force or protect or dictate to someone something. And to me, that's leading myself through these situations where I have loved ones going through their ups and downs in life. I have my own direction in and out of that. If I don't have that, I'm going to be at the mercy of what the current is going on around me, and I won't know where I begin and end. And that becomes the big thing. I don't know how to help. I think I'm helping, and I'm adding more fuel to the fire. Right? How the hell would I know?
What struck me was that when I'm involved in things that I really love to do,
right,
and I'm operating off that vibration, you know, I'm
That's
happy and free, and
That's it.
things are going well, I can move in
Right.
and work with folks who, especially for those who do spiritual work, I can work with those folks that are going through some of those challenges, but I can always come back to one of those words we used to use for years is pivot. You know, I come back to my that feeling of abundance and freedom and happiness within. Then I've got it made. No matter what's going on around me.
That's right. And that's the practical part that Tom's talking about. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Because all of us want to be of service at one time or another. That's where the fun in life really is in being of service. It's being involved. But a lot of what you were sharing, I was thinking about. It's really important for me to always, when I'm talking about others, always bring them back to myself as well. That recognize that I'm going to have some areas that are challenges for me, and I know that I consistently have some habits and I think a certain way around a certain situation, and just give myself a break. It's okay. Okay, I did that again. Okay, I was late this morning again. Whatever it was, I'm not always late. Why was I late then? Well, this thing moved in, and I must have a concept around there. Let me work with my guidance to kind of clear that up, so I can get back to that feeling of. I know for me, it's when I'm, really feeling happy and free.
Yeah. So that's what Tom brought up last time. We talked about that free book about your intuition and your purpose, and it's amazing how much information's in that little free book. It's pretty powerful. But just coming back home to the one message that you are, you have been, and you always will be. Right? That one message, that is a tremendous place to pivot from. Huge. Mm-hmm. Imagine if more of us, right, were able to just see people that way, to work with people, respect them with their life's challenges, that what they're going through is no greater or lesser than what we're going through.
Right.
Now, that, like I said, doesn't mean that I have to go get in the dirt with them if it's something I've already done, but I know how to help. And I know when to help by not being involved, right? That's a big one. Knowing when to not be there. It's like there was a old movie called The Karate Kid, and the Miyagi guy, and there's a part there where he says, the best way to avoid a punch is not be there, And I love that because it has so many meanings to it. There's a lot of depth to it. My point for me is, how do I work with my friends and family, my colleagues, and my not so friendly friends, I need to have that clarity inside. I need to know what's in it for me in a self-full perspective, like you brought up. And I need to know what my direction is, what I've come to do, meaning that my spiritual evolution. And if I don't have that, if that's not what I can regroup around at the end of the day, then basically the law of attraction is going to get set up as such that I'm going to repeat. Here we go again the next day, because I'm not regrouping. There's another practical point for what we're talking about, right? I'm not regrouping around the pivot point of what I came in with and what I'm leaving with, right? And that's, to me, that's a real key with inner leadership.
You know, I find when I do that, and often I regroup with my partner, Teresa, who interestingly did a podcast, a free podcast on
A little shameless promotion there.
seeing the everyone as a soul. She talked about picture them naked first, and then she tuned into the soul. But you don't have to do it that way. That's what we love about Teresa. She keeps us interested in whatever she's talking about.
I think I'll go back and do that podcast.
That's Teresa Shantz at
Yeah.
TNTSpiritWorks.com.
Yeah.
So, well, you know, the other thing that we regroup. We regroup.
right.
And the other day we went through a situation where I actually thought I had kind of a boring day and I didn't get as much done, or the key things and that I wanted to get done. And when I took a moment to just regroup what I gained out of it spiritually, there was really one event that had occurred when I was driving to an appointment and I was talking to a relative over the phone. And instead of getting caught up in their little drama, I just said, you know, I'm sure you're going to do fine with that. And it was because I stopped and just tuned into what I felt.
Right.
And you know, had that little inner guidance working for me, and I just felt so free. And then it hit me, yes, you know, because it's a relative, I think I'm supposed to, I've been trained, I'm somehow supposed to, you know, explain it all. And when I thought about what their issue was, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it because it was so trivial. But here's a full-fledged adult, you know, doesn't really need my advice on how to work with the situation they were in, you know, with a landlord and so forth. So little thought habits that we have, so that, you know, by regrouping that day, you know, that big highlight came to me at the end of the day with my guidance, and that really, by regrouping, it really sunk it in. Okay, yes, that's a better way forward for me. You know, that's how I fall into that, you know, situation. And in fact, the big setup was we were working with the LFN calendars, La Familia Nuestra calendars, that Teresa's also done a few podcasts on. And the stick figure of the day, for those of you who are familiar with LFN, was the Great Guru. And you know, here I had somebody asking me for answers when really they had all their own resources to figure that out, and I didn't get caught. So here's a time that I didn't get caught. And once I regroup that and reaffirm that, it starts to become my new habit, and that's how I grow spiritually.
And I mean, and that's
and everybody benefits.
That's
She
exactly
benefits.
right.
I
That's
benefit.
exactly right.
Everybody benefits.
And that's what I was going to say, is that that's the benefit of inner leadership, is that everybody wins. This idea that one person has to lose and the other person wins, that's panther piss. Absolute nonsense. When you're on your niche and you're doing your thing, everybody wins. One way or another, everybody wins. And that's the power and practical nature of taking a simple concept. I feel that concept is a spiritual concept of inner leadership, and how much it affects and how much it brings all these things to life. All right.
Well, next time we're going to do a live stream, and for those of you who are interested in being able to ask us questions in real time, and probably more importantly, have them share some of their experiences with regards to the topics that we're talking about. Because, you know, the thing I love about sharing with like-minded people is that as I share my experiences and what I'm learning, it will stimulate something in another person, and it gives me even more dimension to the overall solutions and the picture. So that we're not working from a competition point of view, but how we bolster each other through this kind of sharing. So go to tntspiritworks.com, sign up for that free ebook. We'll get your email address, and that way we can keep you informed and help you get all set up for the live stream when we hold it. Thank you for letting us share. Tiger, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Just be full of self and everything will work itself out.